in our industry, and just like a lot of other industries, you have to just stay very nimble, stay very, very ready for the changes that are inevitably going to come, because no one knows exactly what it's going to look like 3 to 5 years from now. But the good news is there's going to be a need for interpreters, and there's going to be a need for translation, localization. The roles are going to continue to shift, and how we're needed is going to shift, and that's where we have to stay extra nimble.
Hello, friends. Welcome to a new episode of Merging Minds brought to you by BureauWorks. Today, I'm excited, as always, right? When am I not excited about having a nice conversation with an industry leader? When am I not excited about bringing you guys a new perspective on life and leadership and management? Uh, so, today, I decided to invite to the podcast my friend David Brackett, who's here with us. Hey, David.
Hey, Javi, how are you? Good to see you. Gusto verte.
All good?
Todo bien. Everything's good. Life is good. And yeah, really excited to be sitting down here with you. Wish we were in the same place together, but hey, this
Yeah.
works.
It's super funny. Like for those watching today, like David and I, we always speak Spanish. Absolutely, always. David, he's from the United States, but he spent a part of his life in Spain, and he speaks fluent, perfect Spanish with a Spanish accent, right?
Intento. I try. Yes. Well,
So, David,
I love Spanish too. I've always loved Spanish ever since I was a little kid. We'll get into where that came from later, but
nice,
yeah.
nice, 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 nice. So, I mean, for the friends who are watching the podcast today or listening to the podcast, I would like you to introduce yourself to them, please.
Yes. Hello, community. It's great to be with you, Javi. A little bit about me. There's that I'm the founder and CEO of Linguava. I'm also a certified medical Spanish interpreter. I am married, have almost 3 year old son, live in Southern California, and my company Linguava is headquartered out of Portland, Oregon, but we have staff all over the U.S. and of course now abroad as well. So that's just a little bit about me. On in my spare time, I love to play the guitar. Normally, I have guitars behind me, but I'm not sitting in my office right now. And I love to go to the beach. Love to do jujitsu, get relieve some stress that way, and just be outside as much as I can.
Nice, man. I love that. I'm also very an active person, and you know what I really appreciate about you as well, that you're a powerful millennial. I think just like me, I hope like me, and you're a very powerful millennial leader. How old are you right now, David?
So I am 43 years old. So yeah, I think
Nice, nice.
we're like about the
Yes,
same
I'm
age, huh?
gonna be 42 in 3 weeks, so yeah, the
Yeah.
same stuff. So more or less the same age.
Yeah.
Hey, man, like, so you just told us that you're a certified interpreter. So you didn't really stumble upon the industry like most of the people did, right? You knew about it in the past.
Well, I still stumbled upon it. I was then like you mentioned, I was in Spain for about 5 years in southern Spain in Sevilla. Even though the northern Spain is beautiful and amazing too, but the southern Spain is that's where I live, so that's where I have
That's for some
most
reason the natural place
experience.
where everybody goes. And why don't you guys visit the north? That's where I'm from. I know it's not the same weather, but it's different food, good people. So guys, come to the
Yeah, the
north.
north. I did do the Camino de Santiago, the James
Ah,
Way hike,
okay.
which that was espectacular. I would definitely recommend that. But I did so when I was in Spain. I was actually working as it was a dream job right after college. Didn't know what I was going to do. Bought a one way ticket to Spain, and I thought I was going to be there for a few weeks, right? And ended up while I was there, the program that I had studied at when I had studied in Spain before graduating, they had a need for like a student coordinator position, which basically was students that were coming in from all different countries would come to this program in Sevilla to study Spanish, history, art, culture, all the things, and they needed like a cultural liaison person to help coordinate with the U.S. staff or wherever they were coming from and get them a homestay set up as well. So I was that person. So it was a really cool job. It was so much fun. Didn't feel like work at all. But while I was there, I was dealing with a lot of people that only spoke either only Spanish or only English. So I started to have to learn this whole world of interpretation. It wasn't medical. interpretation, but we would go on a tour, and all of a sudden there would maybe be no tour guide that spoke English and Spanish. So I would have to try to interpret. I didn't know anything about the skills of interpretation. And I remember when I first started doing that, people would look at me like, "Dude, this interpretation is terrible," because it's so hard, right? At first when you're getting started, but I just gradually got better, and I liked the challenge of it. I liked the challenge of the interpreting and trying to figure it out, and I loved just the whole concept of interpretation. So that's really where I was discovered interpretation, was through living there and having to do some interpretation in my job. And then when I came back to the States, that's really where I discovered this whole larger industry as we know it today.
It's so interesting that you also worked as a tour guide and that you use both languages, because I did that too. Can you believe it? Like 10 years ago, we recorded in 24, exactly 20 in 2014. I was living in Germany, in Munich, for a period of 2 years. And I was trying to get a corporate job. It was those years that what am I gonna do with my life? So I said, okay, for a bit of time, I got a job as a tour guide in the city of Munich, and I was like, just like you, like, hey, there's this tour of people that they want to do the tour in English, so I would just go and do it in English. I take people around the city, telling them the history of the city. So yeah, I guess that's why we also connected a lot,
Yeah.
right?
I think, being a tour guide, I don't know about you, but like I think it's one of the best jobs out there, especially maybe when you're a little bit younger. It's a great job. You got your customer service, you got some sales involved in that, your public speaking, and even
Telling
for
stories, telling stories.
history, even for people that want to get started as interpreters. That's
Yeah.
also, I never even thought about that, but that's a great way where you can kind of, if you don't have any experience, you could slowly get started as a tour guide.
Yes, totally, totally, totally. Like, that briefs it. Like, you're doing sales, you're doing history, you're doing communication, you're doing storytelling. That's
Yeah.
It's a dream job, also, right?
Yeah.
And speaking about jobs, David, did you ever have a job, or did you just like once? I mean, in our industry, I mean, or you just went out there and said, like, okay, I don't want to be employed. I want to found my own company. How take us down to that moment.
Well, when I came back from Spain, I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, and I got a job as a Spanish medical interpreter working for another agency based out of Portland. And what I found out right away was that I loved being an interpreter. I loved seeing the connection of being able to help individuals, seeing the direct impact on their health outcomes as an interpreter. And and I was meeting other interpreters who were very equally passionate about it. Like Paul McCartney says, "Love is all you need."
Yes, yes.
So I mean, I had the love for it, and the passion was there. So it just made it easy, right? At the same time, it was a very painful experience working as an interpreter, working for this particular agency. I won't out them right here, but it was painful because there was multiple times where they would pay me for, I was working full time as a medical interpreter. They paid me for my work, and they would have no money in the bank to pay me, so the check would bounce. And so you'd call them and go, "Hey, the check bounced. What happened here?" They wouldn't answer the phone, give you the runaround. They wouldn't call you back. And I thought maybe that's just me. That just only happened to me. Lo and behold, that happened to many other people as well. It wasn't just me. And so that was painful, obviously. And then on top of that, there was lots of other things going on where there wasn't really any support from the agency. There wasn't any training for the medical providers. There
Hmm.
wasn't really any sense of culture or community. With such a beautiful industry as the language industries that we have, that's really where I started to think about, gosh, what a missed opportunity to not really create more of a community with such beautiful services that we provide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And man, that's incredible. And you've grown. Like, how long have you guys been doing what you do now? Like, how many years has
So
it
I,
been?
so I started the company in 2010. It was just my dad and me and one other person. My dad had just retired at the time. He was in a totally another industry, and the three of us with just a big dream, and got like a 900 square foot retail space, and away we went. Um, so that was 2010, and so now, fast forward 14, almost 15 years
Wow.
later, we've grown quite a bit. We went Went from zero to we'll do probably a little over 30 million this year.
Wow, congratulations, congratulations. That's incredible. That's what a journey, my friend. That's incredible. Can I? Okay, so yesterday, I mean, I was talking to you and I was telling you, hey man, I'm at a Bob McCartney concert, and it was super funny. He was suddenly, he says, let's like he's singing all these Beatles all songs, and he says like, let's go down memory lane. I'm like, even more? Are you gonna go even deeper? Like, is it possible? So, since we're talking about going down memory lane, I want to ask you about um uh, those early years, man. Those early years are the, I think, from my understanding, and I'm not an entrepreneur at least yet, but those are the key moments in where you know everything looks so difficult. Everything is like, oh my god, we're gonna do it or not, or is it gonna survive or not? Our project, whatever. So, can you think of some of the craziest or most complicated initial challenges you had back then? Can you name one, or can you tell us a story about like, oh my god, I thought we were not gonna make it and we did, or it was impossible and we did? Because a lot of the people that listen to the podcast, they want to get that inspiration to say, hey, I really had that problem, and I wanna also connect with David, see how he did it, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's such a balance of like realizing that you're climbing this insane mountain, like you're climbing this Mount Everest that you've never climbed before, you're not prepared to climb. Like you don't have the right gear, you don't have the experience, you don't have the right guide, but you have to climb a Mount Everest because that's what building a business is doing. I read somewhere not too long ago that um, within the first 5 years, 96% of businesses fail.
Yeah.
96%. So, you're going out there like a gladiator, right? A gladiator, the more that you fight as a gladiator, the more likely you are to die. Like that's just how, business can be. It's dispassionate. It's, doesn't no one cares about you especially when you're starting out. So you're trying to not focus too much on that because then you just would be too scared to take your next step, knowing that those challenges are there, but also just knowing that, hey, I've got to do what I can do right now. Here's where we are, and not worrying too much about those challenges and risks that are obviously there. Your death could be there around the corner, but just going, you know what, even in spite of that, I'm going to push forward. And so you're a little bit in some ways, you have to be naive, because it's naive to believe that you could start this brand new thing. No one knows about you. No one needs you. There's a gazillion other offers out there right now. Why do they need your business, right? So you have to create that need, create that value. So you can't worry about all the things that could go wrong, even though they're real. They You have to just focus on, well, here's where I am, and here's the goals that I want to set. But the biggest challenge, there's so many challenges, right? So many challenges. The biggest one was when we first started, and this is getting very real here with you on the podcast. Like I said, I worked for another company as a Spanish interpreter, as a contractor, 1099 contractor. This company that I worked for came after me after we started to get a little bit of momentum. I mean, it wasn't much momentum compared to obviously where they were at. They'd been around a long time, but obviously it was enough momentum to startle them a little bit, and they came after us. And they with this was our like third or fourth month of being in business, just still very brand new, and they came after us with a class action lawsuit,
Oh
like
wow.
$350,000. So when I got served that was like, I mean, there's everyday challenges, but then there's like, okay, like
Yes.
getting hit by an avalanche, and at that point, I felt like there's no way, we're not going to make it. We're going to close our doors. And as a matter of fact, I met with multiple attorneys, and they all kind of said the same thing, like, this is going to cost you too much money to even try to fight this. I fortunately kept going to other attorneys as well, and found one that was like, they're saying that you have these trade secrets. Let's go talk to them, which we ended up doing, and lo and behold, we were able to have a conversation with them, and they realized that we didn't have these trade secrets that they thought we had, and we were able to settle out and
Wow.
barely survive. But
Wow. I'm like, thanks for sharing that. And thanks for opening up to us. That must be very tough. And I hear me out. This is not the first time I hear that from entrepreneurs at that level. Like actually, from outside of the industry, one of my best friends is founding his own business. He started and he had something similar to that with his former company because he was a key member there, and he had even police coming to his place to register things, and at the end, nothing. He got away with it because I guess some companies they just want to bring you down and they try to scare you as much as they can, and no man, fuck them, man. Don't let yourself be scared. Like go do I mean, don't step on anyone's
Yeah,
feet,
yeah, yeah.
of course. But why would they do? No,
Yeah,
man.
it's an effective scare tactic because it works.
Yes,
I mean, it's
indeed.
very very scary,
Yes,
but
indeed, man. Well, thanks for sharing that. As I said, thanks for sharing that part of the journey. Must have been like super difficult at the time, man. Not only thinking about how to create a business, how to grow the business, but also to fight against that, right? So, wow.
yeah,
And speaking of this makes me think of the following, right? Like building a business, growing the business. And another thing that is on everyone's mouth nowadays is the importance of company culture, right? And I know you thought about this very well. Like, can you explain us a little bit about that particular company culture that you created and that you're nurturing at Linguava? Because for those listening, we met last week in person and we were
yeah.
having an amazing conversation about this. And I would like David to explain you how, what type of company culture he is implemented, in which way he's doing it, and how he's nurturing that.
Yeah, of course. So for me, company culture is pretty much the most important thing that you have to have. The way I like to think about it is everything starts with your business or your team. It starts with inside your walls and then it goes out to the world, right? It starts with the culture of your organization and then it goes out to your clients or to your vendors. So I think a lot of times individuals or companies get it sort of the other way around. They want to start off with the end product, start off with the sales, start off with the customer experience, which is super super important. But if you don't start first with what you're building inside your home, the structure of your home, the foundation, that's the culture, and then you're not going to have the right services to be able to carry that amazing product that maybe you have, or maybe those promises that you've made to the client aren't going to come to fruition if you don't have that company culture. So in my opinion, it has to come first. So it can't be like an afterthought. It has to be, it's in your DNA, it's in your core values, it's in your mission, it's in your vision. When you walk into a store, like a brand new store, let's say, or a coffee shop, and you look around, within 4 seconds, studies show that you have an idea or a perspective on what type of a company culture that place has. Why is that? You're looking around and you're seeing, did anyone look at you when you walked in? What is the overall vibe in the organization? Do people seem excited to be there? Do they seem, really closed off? Is there music playing? Is the place clean? What's the ambiance like? Do you feel safe in this place? What's the energy of the organization? Like, you get a pulse. Our brains do this within seconds when you walk into a new location, new restaurant, store. So it's the same thing with our businesses. When our clients call us, when they email us and we respond to them, they're thinking about the same things. How long did it take to get a response? What was their tone over the phone? How long did it take them to answer the phone? Did they seem genuine? Did they actually care? All those things feed back to who you are as a company. What is the culture that you've created? And it's the culture can't lie. It either is or it isn't. There's no faking your company culture. Whatever
Okay.
you've created over time is what you have today. And now
Yeah.
you can change that, but you can't fake it, and so it has to start early on in what you're wanting to build. And that's what we've tried to do at Linguava.
Yeah, I love it because that's a very big focus of PureWorks as well as a company. Like you feel the vibe, you feel the energy, you feel like, hey, let's do this thing, and then how quote unquote crazy we all are, and people feel it, and I love it, and it's key. One thing that I'm scared of, and I've seen it in the industry, and here I'm going to reveal, it's like as a company grows, sometimes you get investors, sometimes there's extra pressure, sometimes, and for some reason, and I'm thinking of a company that I work for, whose ex colleagues of mine have complained about how it has changed and how it's not the same thing and stuff like that. What are you doing, or what methods, what ideas can you bring to the table to say, hey, I know we're a $30 million business now. We hope to be $120 million business in 10 years, but we have to maintain this culture. How did you think of that?
Yeah.
Did you think of how you're gonna do this or how you're gonna maintain it?
Yeah, and I want to point out as well that just my experience with BureauWorks is also the same as well. I mean, my experience with you, with Gabriel, with the team that I've met, at conferences, everyone really solid people, because the people that
Thanks.
you hire people that are going to align with your culture. I mean, you do. So those go hand in hand. Those are the people that are going to bring the culture to fruition. So one of the things that I've done that I think has been really helpful, and I've done this since day one, and I would highly recommend it, is creating a culture training for the new hires that come on board. So ever since employee number one, and this culture training has taken different shapes over the last 14 years, but I created a training that would basically describe what type of a culture we are, what do we value, what is our mission, why are we here, how do we want to come across. Because your company culture is essentially it's your DNA as an organization. So you have to be able to teach that to someone that's joining. They may have come from a totally different culture, their previous job, right? So now they're coming into your place of work. How are they supposed to know how that culture? It's going to be different. Every culture is different in an organization. So you want them to really understand what that is. So everyone is rowing together. I mean, I think the best description of a strong culture is when you see like the picture of 8 or 10 people in a boat and everyone's rowing together in unison. They know who they are. They're going lockstep, same direction. They know how to respond. They're supporting each other. They're heading in the same direction to support the clients. So doing that culture training has been something that I think has really been beneficial for us. It's kept culture at the forefront.
Can you name a couple of core values that you have within that
Yeah.
program? Like
So
I sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So we have 6 core values at Linguava. So people first is one core value that we have. Above and beyond customer service, going that extra mile. Honest conversations, being able to be genuine and real with each other. Innovative spirit, so think outside the box. Don't do the same things just because you've always done them that way. Raising the standard of excellence, which really has to do with the quality of the work that we do. And then servant's heart, which is how we give back to the community beyond just our services. So those are our core values.
I love it. You just mentioned the word. You mentioned the word community. I know that's important for you. You are always a community leader. You play that role, right? You're always, hey, let's put this together. Let's go together. Let's do this. How are you doing? Right now, is everybody on the same page here, right? Like I know you do this a lot. I mean, that's my idea of you as well. Also, when I see you on social media and how well you're using social media to express those values, those and the ways you're working in that those trainings that you're also giving, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's important. You got to get out there. You've got to create that sense of community, not just within your organization, but with your vendors, your linguists, and with other individuals in our industry, with clients. And the best way to do that is you got to get out. You got to get out, whether that's webinars, whether that's being active on LinkedIn, active at conferences, creating events, whatever that might be. It all just helps bring more value to the industry and hopefully to your organization.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I 100% agree. Like in these modern times of change, and I know we always say like change, but our parents have seen change all the time as well, right? Like I'm guessing, like looking into Excel in '97 was like, oh my god, this is gonna disrupt what we've been doing all, and this is gonna get us on fire, right? And
Yeah.
now with the massive eruption of AI and large language models, it's also disrupting everything we're doing, right? But by the way, since we're here, let me ask you, like, you see the changes in the industry as a leader, especially in the interpreting field. Um, what are some of the most profound changes you've seen lately?
It's so fascinating thinking about the changes. Like when I first started the company in 2010, I was thinking, this is 14 years ago, right? I was thinking, man, we really have to get super adept at video because video is going to be taking over, and video is going to be where it's at within the next 3 to 5 years. Fast forward 14 years, and yes, video has definitely grown. It is continuing to grow, but it hasn't grown as fast, I think, as a lot of us probably thought that it was going to, or take over. On-site interpretation is still a thing, and still a need that you even and then you throw COVID in the mix, right? And you think a lot of people thought, okay, after COVID, now it's just going to be 100% remote. On-site interpretation in many states, did come back, and many doctors still have that preference. So they want to have on-site interpretation as an option for them. So it's in our industry, and just like a lot of other industries, you have to just stay very nimble, stay very, very ready for the changes that are inevitably going to come, because no one knows exactly what it's going to look like 3 to 5 years from now. But the good news is there's going to be a need for interpreters, and there's going to be a need for translation, localization. The roles are going to continue to shift, and how we're needed is going to shift. And that's where we have to stay extra nimble.
Aren't all of those doubts and questions we put on ourselves based on the also limitations we put on ourselves? Like, I think that makes a big difference, right? The way you see life, and
Yeah.
this thing that you mentioned at the beginning, we started talking about, like, think outside of the box. Isn't that a very important thing to focus on as well, right?
Oh yeah, so that's so important, right? I mean, I think that's just in life in general, is like you can focus on, glass half full or half empty. I mean, always try to be the glass half full person. I mean, that's just how I'm wired. I think that's important when you're trying to create a new vision for something that doesn't exist. You're trying to build something that people don't know that they need yet,
Yeah.
and it makes life more fun when you can think about it that way. You need to have people on your team, though, that are also thinking the other way too, right?
Yeah.
You need to have people that are glass half empty, and it's actually good to have both.
And that's where your opportunity comes as well, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. And like, I want to ask you a question about you guys, like the way you operate, and since we're talking about all these new things coming up in our localization industry, etc. How are you guys balancing that new tech integrations with that essential human touch that you mentioned you've been talking about from the moment we started speaking?
Yeah, I think for us, it's being able to continue to have that balance of staying ahead of the curve, leveraging technology, leveraging AI. AI is a great tool that obviously in our industry we've been using for a long time, but now we can benefit more from that, and our linguists can slowly start to shift and adapt in new ways. There's more opportunities coming up for things like post editing. The role of the translator is going to continue to change. Well, all those things happen, like we were talking about culture earlier, is continuing to still keep the same values that you have, those core values that will bring that culture that you have to fruition. And so not allowing new technology to remove anything from the company. Rather, it adds more value. Leverage it, use it. It might mean that roles need to shift.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to mean that, but you can still use it to make your services stronger, and don't shy away from it.
That's very interesting. Like, I hope or anyone listening takes that advice into account, and follows that path. I want to ask you just a couple of more questions, David. One is like, for you guys as a company and thinking about the future. I know it's very difficult to predict. I have this conversation with Gabriel, CEO. Hey, what do you see myself in 5 years? Like, dude, I don't know where I'm going to be next year. Shut up. Thank you. But like, do you have that vision? Like, where do you guys see yourself going in the near future? Let's say, right? What is? I would like to say, what does success look like in the coming years for you guys?
Yeah, so that's the big question
It's
for
difficult.
us. We specialize in the medical industry. So within the next 5 years, I would love to see Linguava as that national leader in the medical interpretation translation space, subject matter expert in that space, through client trainings, through linguist training as well. We have our own accredited training program, and So being able to just step out more and more as as a national leader as we continue to grow, really helping bring more awareness of the role of the interpreter, of how vital these medical services are, of who's being impacted at the end, which is the patient, right, and the health outcomes of the patient. So for us, we want to continue to grow. Obviously, there's financial growth, but really being able to be seen more as that national subject matter expert would
Nice.
be.
That's a great goal, and I'm sure guys are gonna be there like in the next few years. Like, please keep it up with this company culture you have, with this team you have behind you. These ideas we were discussing the other day about how you run the company. I'm sure that's gonna make you get to that goal, man. Like, super, like, all my support and all my kudos, man, for that thing you're doing.
Thank you, Javi. No, I appreciate it. I really
Well,
do.
I have one more last question.
Yeah.
You know, man, they call us already middle-aged men, dude. Like, that's killing me. That's killing me. We're halfway through our lives, they say, right? Fucking,
Right.
that's killing me, right? But I mean, we still can. We're still young, and that's the thing that I do a lot. Is I look back in the past to see, like, oh my god, those I did these things in the past. I liked it a lot. This was a great achievement, right? I want to continue. I don't know where, but at least going in that direction, right? But when you look back, and this is the last question I have for you, my friend, what is the thing that you're most proud of in your journey so far? As an entrepreneur first, tell me as an entrepreneur. And then you can tell me about my personal level if you want to close the interview.
Yeah. As an interpreter, I think, I'm just so grateful to have found the industry, found this line of work. It doesn't feel like work to me. When I was working as an interpreter, it didn't feel like work. And now starting Linguava, it doesn't feel like work. It is a lot of work, but it doesn't feel like work. So I'm just proud to be able to get up every day, be healthy, and do what we do every day. I mean, the value that a linguist brings to the table, of allowing someone to have a seat at the table in their own language, allowing someone to participate in their healthcare, is so valuable. And I want to help that voice be expanded, and for the world to know how important interpretation and translation services are. So I'm just very proud of what we're doing as an industry, and I'm proud of how we have grown at Linguava, where we have grown, a lot, but at the same time, we've still been able to keep that strong company culture, those strong core values, maintain a mission driven, focused, hire really great people that will continue to carry that. That to me is really important, because if we would have grown, but our culture is terrible and toxic and things like that, I wouldn't be proud
And
of
it
that.
exists. And it exists, unfortunately. And you hear it more often than you would like, for real.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. I agree. So that's important. At the end of the day, I want to be proud of the culture that we're building, what it is that we're
yeah,
representing, is
yes.
important.
If you want to share with us any closing remarks, uh, I don't have any more questions. I'm super happy to have met you in person finally, David. I can't wait to see you again in person and spend more time and have fun and enjoy and have super good conversations. I don't know if you have any closing remarks.
I'll give you a closing quote. I'll give you. This is one from Tony Robbins, and it says, "Where your focus goes, your energy flows. Where your focus goes, your energy flows." So where is your focus today? Are you focused on all the things that are going wrong in your life, or in your business, or with your team? That's where your energy is going to go, and you're going to be taken down that negative path. If you're focused on, yes, there's these things that I need to fix, and you're acknowledging the weeds in the garden, they're real, they need to be pulled out. But this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be. This is where the type of person or leader that I want to become. That's going to take you much farther than just focusing on all the things that are wrong. They need to be addressed, but don't live there.
Yeah,
That's what
no, I'm glad you shared that. I've suffered from anxiety in the distant in the no in the near past, not so long ago, and it came a lot from focusing on small things that really were not productive, right?
Yeah, I've been
So,
there too. I've been there
yeah,
too.
yeah. So it's good that you pointed out. So, my friend, thank you so much To all of you watching, thanks for being here, listening to two middle-aged men discussing problems of life and giving your perspectives on the industry and leadership in life. Thanks so much, and until the next episode of Merging Minds. Bye.